Welcome this morning to our MSL Learn webinar series. We're going to spend a little bit of time searching Montana collections in the Internet Archive. And I'm so glad to be joined this morning by a couple of colleagues, most importantly, Jim Kammerer, who provided our webinar last time that gave us a really great overview of all of the Montana government information that is available and is a really valuable resource for patrons who are looking for answers to questions that they may not have thought about having government information sources for. With that, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Colette Bartow. I'm the Continuing Education Coordinator at the State Library. And this is actually a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. I was a school librarian for many years, and one of my favorite things to do as a teacher was to help students discover new sources of information, help them develop those research skills or those information seeking skills. And so online databases and online resources like the Internet Archive that we're going to talk about today, it just scratches my teacher itch and school librarian itch. And so hopefully you'll learn a few things, or also because I know that some of you are really great experts in this sort of thing, that you might share some of the tips that you have for successfully searching and finding information in our government resources. So that is enough about me. Like I said, we're going to look at the Internet Archive and searching the Montana collections, the state library collections, state government collections. I'm going to give just a couple of really brief, super general search tips, do a demonstration, and then talk a little bit about the resources that are going to be available to you after we conclude our session today. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share those search tips. The Internet Archive is what we're focused on today, and Jim talked about this in our last session at the beginning of the month. The Internet Archive has many collections that are contributed by so many different types of organizations and entities. It represents so many different things. But like I said, today I just wanted to focus on our Montana State Library collections in the Internet Archive. So this is what the homepage looks like. And to really bring back a point that Jim made, there is so much information. And when we look at just the subject lists that Jim is responsible for maintaining and adding to, we can see, I mean, there's a huge amount of information here. So how do we kind of hone in on the questions that our patrons bring to us, and be able to, get into the stuff, recognizing that, there are terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of information, documents that even in just this one source, the Internet Archive. So, that can be overwhelming to patrons. It can be overwhelming to us. And so we want to kind of understand that that's kind of the whole universe of information. But a couple of things with the Internet Archive that I've learned over the years, and one of those is to create an account. And so I'm going to show you a demonstration that is with my account logged in. And what that has helped me do over the years as I've had different research-based projects is that I'm able to favorite items and to go back to those quickly and easily. So it's, creating your own collection of items that are particular to a research question that you have, and then being able to recapture those and get back to those quickly. And the other thing is to explore. So you can favorite items, but one of the things that you'll see is that the Internet Archive, like other sorts of repositories, will also suggest similar items. And part of that is just the incredible depth of metadata, the tagging, the subjects, the descriptions, the information that's available on each item, so that you're going to get a pretty good or interesting path into items that you might not have considered to answer the research questions that you have. So there are a couple of different searches, and the Internet Archive, when you go to their homepage, they display these, and they also have some help information. And so some of the information I'm sharing in the next couple of slides is taken from their help resources. And a lot of times, one of the things that we want to do is actually do a full text search. As I said, there's so much metadata that describes all of the items, but sometimes that full text search is going to be the thing that comes straight from that patron's request or their research question, and it helps you kind of have that springboard to the larger topic. So that's something that I usually start with, is a full text search as opposed to a general metadata search. And then certainly, for other types of questions that you might have, you might look at the Wayback Machine, which is all about websites and website archive, the TV news captions that Jim talked about last time, or book reader text search. But I recommend starting with a full text search based on the research question that you have. There are different ways to sort results as well. Again, we're looking at that huge universe of information. So how do we sort that information so that hopefully we're honing in on a topic, a date range, and even something like the tile view or the list view, that are options for actually displaying results. And depending on the way that you like to see things, maybe you want to see that large thumbnail of a resource, or maybe you really want to look at that more descriptive information. So you can choose some of those things to order and to display the results that you get when you are doing a search in the Internet Archive. I want to emphasize that there are collections, and there are many, many collections. One of the collections is the Montana State Library set of collections. And so when you're searching, I would suggest that you want to focus on a particular collection to be able to dig into also. And I'll show what this looks like here in a little bit. But in general, when you are looking at the Internet Archive, all of your limiters and parameters and filters and those sorts of things are going to be visible on the left side of the screen that you're working from. Like I said, collections are really important, kind of that organizational structure. And the 4 collections that I think are really important for anyone doing research on Montana history or bringing questions about historical kind of progress of laws and the kinds of issues that were coming up over time that were dealt with by the legislature or different branches of state government. So these 4 collections, the Montana Code Annotated, the Revised Codes of Montana Annotations, and then the Montana Local Government Collection, I think are collections that you could bookmark and just kind of keep in that back pocket for when you have a patron that has a question, whether that's a 5th grader doing Montana history sorts of research, or that might be somebody who wants to find out more about environmental impact statements or various reports or publications from state government agencies. So these 4, these are really important, and they've been really beneficial to me in the different research projects that I've had over the years. So again, as I was mentioning earlier, there's different ways to sort that information. There's different ways to search that information. Just a couple of hints: the searching text contents, again, that gives you that full text search. Sorting by the date published is a really good way to get those things that are older or newer at the top of the list. And the other thing too is that if you have someone who has a specific question that they know happened in 1977 or 1967 or 1871, you can use those year limiters to hone in on a particular year. Those are 3 things that I generally, just out of habit, will do. I'll do searching text contents, I'll sort by date published, and then if I'm going to hone in more on a particular date, especially in these specific collections that I go to directly, then those are helpful for kind of honing in, as I said. So this is an example, and Jim demonstrated this last time as well. When you want to search inside of an item, you use the little search spyglass and enter your search terms, and then you are able to see where that term appears inside of a particular item. It will be highlighted on the left in the text that you see after you hit enter to do that search. You'll see the terms highlighted in the texts themselves. And then along the results bar on the bottom, you see the blue markers that show where that particular word or term appears in the item. That's pretty handy when when you're pretty firm on what the words are that you're searching for, or those topics. It helps you really visibly see where they are and jump to those. In some of these cases, or some of these sources, they may be hundreds, if not 1,000 pages. And so using the search and then being able to jump to those results is pretty handy as well. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, there are so many download options. And when it comes to a patron in particular who wants to print out a PDF, you have that option. But you can also, you can see there are a whole bunch of different formats. EPUB, just the OCR text search. And so depending on what your use is or what your patron's need is, a lot of people still like to print things out or be able to download that PDF and carry that with them, whether it's genealogy research or, what have you. They've got that document then in their files, and they can either print it or like I said, carry it with them on a USB drive or whatever. So lots of options for downloading the print resources in particular. So that's something to just be aware of and help people find that way to then download or access the resources. Okay, I'm going to stop before we go into the demonstration and just see, are there any questions or any tips? Something that you do as a habit in searching this type of collection. Feel free to put that in the chat or go ahead and unmute.
I have a question.
Yeah, Emily.
Emily, are there many image or video collections within the Montana collection?
There are some, and Jim might be able to give you, more specifics really quickly, but there are a number of video and audio assets and many images. For the collections, the MSL collections we're going to look at, those are mostly texts. When you see the search results and see the formats, you're going to see a lot of texts. Jim, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Oh, hi, Colette. Yeah, if you let me put something in the search here or in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to the homepage for our collection there, in the left navigation under media type, as Colette said, most of what's in our collection are text. There's 29,000 some documents. And then also you'll see there's 17 movies, there's 10 audio, and there's 1 image. So there's not many images on their own in our collection. There's a lot of images in the text, of course, but
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's actually a great segue. Hopefully everybody can see, I kind of switched over to the live website. I'll start again at the homepage for the digital library. And depending on if my internet lags a little bit, I have a video that we can switch to. But to go along with some of the tips, use that full text search. So I'm going to make sure I've got text contents. You can see that I've done some practicing here, so that just auto populates in my search. Yeah, that's so, and so then that brings you to the Montana State Library. And as Jim was mentioning, media type is another way to kind of look at the range of things that are available. The text, the movies, the few movies that are there, audio clips as well, and then the 4 collections that we're going to use as our demonstration. And an image, but I'm going to just kind of focus a little bit on this left slider and just, to look at the types of, not just an advanced search, but the types of limiters that you can put in. And as you talk with a patron about the research question that they bring to you, being able to use these sorts of things to tease out, is there a particular year that you are looking at finding information? Is there a subject? And you saw the long list of subjects a little bit earlier, but as you expand this, the subject limiters here, you're going to, see a whole lot more. But, having that conversation with the patron and kind of helping to tease out some of that information is going to actually help teach them to use these sorts of limiters to refine their question, and to be able to kind of dive into the resources that are going to help answer their question more specifically. So the Montana State Library's collection as a whole is one of those options. The different creators of items, so whether it's something from the legislature, the state library, Fish and Game Commission, all of those things are found within these collections. That being said, I do want to focus on, for the sake of demonstration, the collections, the 4 main collections that I mentioned: the Montana Code Annotated, the revised codes, annotations to the Montana Code, and then the local government collections. All 4 are really, really awesome. But as I said, just kind of for the sake of demonstration, one of the things I've been working on is kind of like the history of libraries in Montana. And so I wanted to go back in time to see and kind of trace the history of legislation about Montana libraries. So I know, and you can see from the description here, the revised codes of Montana were the laws of Montana, what we know now as the Montana Code Annotated, prior to the Constitution in the 1970s. So the RCM are the places that I know go farther back in time. And if I click on that collection, I'm going to see that the items range from being published in 1871 through up to 1977, when that transition from the RCM to the MCA, the Montana Code Annotated, happened. I definitely want to organize things by the date published, just so I might get some of the older stuff rising to the top, because my question is really about, did the territorial legislature do anything or say anything or legislate anything about libraries? So that being said, got this sorted, but I'm also going to then weed out anything before, let's say, I'm going to go back to 1895 just by using the year published slider. So now I have 6 results. I haven't really done any other filtering besides the year. And so if I'm looking at these, this one was published in 1895. You mouse over, nice little description pops up, gives you some details. Then you decide, do I want to dive into that or not? This is a report from 1891. But as I kind of scan across here, I come to the acts, resolutions, and memorials of the territory of the state of Montana, or of the territory of Montana, passed by the Legislative Assembly. And so that's the earliest resource that exists in this collection. And I'm going to do a search for library. I'm going to hit enter. And as I was saying earlier, this is where then you see those search results. You'll see them highlighted in the text under the search inside. And then if I click on one of those blocks of text, it's going to take me to the place inside of the item, the search terms are going to be highlighted. And then as well, you'll see down at the bottom in the results slider, the two spots where the word library occurs. Now, being able to jump to this is really helpful, but I don't know about you, but even with my glasses and that on and things fairly well displayed on my computer screen, I can use the zoom over here on the bottom right to really zoom in, and then the sliders to be able to look at the particular text, be able to read it, and then decide, is this something that I want to go back to? And that's where I am logged in with my account, and I can favorite an item. And then once I've favorited it, if I click on my name up at the top, I can see the list of all of the things that I've favorited. So I've been using this for, let's see, 8 or 9 years. And so I've got quite a few things related to different projects here. But that being said, those are kind of the highlights of what you might find and how you can drill down pretty quickly and then save the results of a search that you do inside of the Internet Archive. And I was able to answer this question, what library-related laws were passed by the Montana Territorial Legislature in the 1870s. I went to the Internet Archive. I went to the Montana State Library collections. I went to the collections that include all of the laws since those times. I was able to use the filters to hone in on the date, and then find some things pretty quickly that related to those search terms.
Hi, Coley.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, excellent. Just in support, you were encouraging people earlier to get a library card or an account with the Internet Archive. One other thing, all of us here, you can become, right this morning, you can start archiving individual web pages if you like. And you can do that with or without registration or getting a library card like you suggested. But the advantage is, if you have a library card with the Internet Archive, is you can see the web pages you've saved. So, Coley, if you click on web in the upper left-hand corner, right there, and then in that black banner towards the right, it says Save Page Now. So anyone can put in a URL right there and save that web page for eternity. But if you have the library card, like Coley is encouraging, you can have future reference to that all the time. You don't have to go hunting for it again. So anyway, that's it.
I think that's really important, especially last time we talked about, the kind of the responsibility for entities, organizations to preserve their history. And so especially for Montana libraries, and I do, Anders, I see your question. I want to tap Jim to kind of help answer that. But the Internet Archive is that type of repository that kind of empowers you to do that kind of preservation of your history, especially when it comes to web pages. And so, yeah, if you haven't done that, go in and get your library website or whatever it is that you might want to have part of that archive. Go ahead and do that. But so, Jim, the question is, I was wondering who indexes the material added to the state library collection. Does the Montana State Librarian or the staff at archive.org or someone else? Jim is the person to answer that question.
Oh gosh, the pressure is on. As far as the 29,000 items that are there in the Montana State Library collection, that's being indexed by archive.org. And so all those documents are keyword searchable. They use optical character recognition. OCR is the acronym. It's software that so you can look on any word in all those documents. And then also very critical is the metadata. Depends entirely upon the cataloger at the time who cataloged that particular item. Did they use all the subject fields possible? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, and Anders, I'm kind of showing on the screen right now, the items appear and you can search and scroll through and all of that. But then you also see, essentially the record for that item. And that includes, if you scroll all the way down, so based on the metadata for what you're looking at, then it will suggest to you similar items. And so that, that web that connects all of these items is pretty powerful in terms of discovering other related items.
Yeah. And it looks like whoever created the catalog record for this item right here, included the table of contents, which is hugely useful. But not every catalog or not every document is going to have a table of contents. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I do like the fact that you see which collections a particular item appears in as well. So you see the revised codes, that's a collection, the state library, and then there's kind of a larger world even of American libraries. So for you cataloging and metadata geeks, everything is here. The item plus all of that great electronic record stuff. All right. I know that we're kind of running towards the end of our time. I did want to just mention, we have on our website all kinds of information. You can launch into the Internet Archive from our website as well. We will have a recording of this session available in our YouTube channel. And I'll also be both posting the link to the recording, but also slides, and then a short demonstration video I'll also make sure is linked in there that kind of walks through this. It might be something that you use with a patron just to kind of show them some of the steps that we walked through today. As always, please share your thoughts. We love to hear from you. And the evaluation form is one way to be able to do that. We have a lot coming up on Friday. We have another webinar, and it's a conversation about library safety and security. That's an hour-long session at noon on Friday. Next Tuesday, we have a colleague from the Montana Department of Commerce is going to walk us through Montana census data, which is really cool. There's some really amazing stuff about property as well as population change that is really fascinating. We're going to talk about the Partners Sharing Group on March 12th, more about OCLC. And then March 22nd is another hour-long session with the State Library and the Montana Library Association, kind of a primer about what libraries and their interaction with the legislature are, how to kind of get involved in those things, and what it looks like to be part of the Montana legislative session activities. So all of those are coming up on the Aspen calendar. As always, if you have any questions or just want to visit a bit about continuing education or any and all of the above, I'm always glad to hear from you. I even pick up the phone, so I would love to hear from you if you have a question. With that, thanks so much. I'm just happy that you spent some time with me this morning, and I hope that you have a really great rest of your day. Go to archive.org to get started. Do a full text search for Montana State Library. Review all of the filters and results on the left-hand side. These are the 4 collections that we'd like to focus on: Montana Code Annotated, Revised Codes, Annotations, and Local Government Collections. I want to look for territorial times, so I will narrow the year published to that time frame. Search inside the item. If this is something that you'd like to look at later, don't forget to favorite. Take a look at the download options. A PDF is best for most patrons. Take a look at the metadata and then scroll to the bottom to see similar items related to your original search topic. Go to archive.org to get started with your search.